You've lived your whole life with kindness, always the one who listens, who's patient, who gives more than they take. But as you grow older, there's a truth that isn't easy to hear. That same gentleness can sometimes make you a target for being taken advantage of, overwhelmed, or quietly hurt. People often tell us to stay soft, to keep being generous. But if you don't learn to hold a little distance, to become a bit more detached and clear-eyed, you may find yourself emotionally and mentally exhausted. This video will share with you 6 powerful reasons why becoming less emotionally reactive after 70 isn't about losing yourself. It's about protecting the peace you've worked so hard to earn. Each reason comes from real-life experiences, lessons that many only understand after facing loss, disappointment, or the quiet sting of being left behind. What you're about to hear is not advice to shut down your heart. It's an invitation to open it more selectively, to love without draining yourself, to care without losing your center, to continue being kind, but not at the cost of your own well-being. Stay until the end of the video, because the final point may completely change how you see the rest of your life. It's a simple truth most people only recognize when it's already too late. And once you understand it, you'll likely think, "I wish I had known this sooner." Let's begin. Number 1. Emotional detachment protects your peace. The older you get, the more you realize that peace isn't a luxury. It's the most valuable thing you can protect. And one of the most powerful ways to safeguard that peace is by learning to let go of emotional ties you once believed were necessary. Emotional detachment doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you start caring selectively. After 70, not every comment is worth your energy. Not every family conflict needs your mediation. And not every harsh word deserves a response. You've come far enough in life to understand that your heart doesn't need to be pulled in every direction, especially by people who expect more from you than they're willing to give in return. We often confuse love with obligation. But love isn't supposed to cost you sleep over chaos you didn't create. Love doesn't demand that you fix things outside your control. When you learn to create emotional distance, you're gently drawing a line between what affects you and what doesn't deserve space in your mind. That line isn't cold, it's clarity. You can still care without carrying the weight. You can listen without feeling responsible for a solution. You can be present without letting exhaustion consume you. Think of Nancy, 80 years old, living in Pennsylvania. Her whole life, she was the family hub. Everyone called her when something went wrong. Forgotten birthdays? She'd remind them. Sibling arguments? She was the peacemaker. She never complained, but the stress quietly piled up. Every time the phone rang, she sighed. Then one day she decided, "I still love them, but I can't keep living like this." Now she listens, but doesn't get involved. She's there, but doesn't step in. She sends her love, but doesn't run around trying to please everyone. And what she found again, after all those years, was a sense of calm in her own home. Emotional detachment doesn't mean you become distant. It means you choose not to get pulled into what isn't yours. You avoid the whirlpools of drama, even when others try to pull you in. You choose distance when what's left is only pain. You choose silence when words would only add more noise. People might say you've changed, or that you've grown colder. But what they're really feeling is that you're no longer easily swayed by their emotions. You're no longer the place they unload their burdens. You've become someone who knows how to protect your own. And it's in that space, the one where you set boundaries gently, that freedom begins. When you stop carrying other people's weight, your path becomes lighter. Mornings feel more breathable. Evenings grow more peaceful. And peace, the kind that isn't shaken by a sudden message or late-night phone call, is worth more than anything else. And if that makes you look different in the eyes of others, then maybe it's because you're finally starting to live true to yourself. Number 2. Saying no without guilt preserves your energy. After 70, Every moment and every drop of energy you have is not just precious, it's sacred. And one of the most powerful expressions of self-respect at this stage of life is the ability to say no without feeling guilty. For decades, we were taught to be agreeable, to be flexible, to be easygoing. We learned to say yes, even when our hearts were silently begging to say no. Over time, this habit drains us, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. Living with boundaries, living with limits, is not selfish. It's how you stay healthy. It's how you protect the life you still have from being consumed by the expectations of others. Every time you agree to something you don't truly want, you are quietly turning away from yourself, denying yourself rest, quiet, or simply the right to do nothing at all. You no longer have the time to waste on things that exhaust you, and you no longer need to prove anything to anyone. You don't owe anyone your attendance at every gathering. You don't owe your attention to every request, and you certainly don't owe your energy to people who don't value it. Let me tell you about Jerry, 77 years old, living in Minnesota. His whole life he was the dependable one. He drove his grandkids to school, fixed his sister's light bulbs, made holiday dinners even when he had the flu. He never said no. He even canceled his own doctor's appointments just to help someone else. But one winter, when he found himself feeling like he was disappearing and didn't know why, he realized it was because saying yes to everyone else had left no room for himself in his own life. From that point on, Jerry began practicing something that used to feel impossible: saying no. Not with anger, but with clarity. Not with excuses, but with calm confidence. And something amazing happened. The world didn't fall apart. The people who truly loved him began to adjust, and he began to rediscover quiet mornings, restful evenings, and the simple joy of living at his own pace. You don't need a reason to say no. You don't have to explain or soften your decision just to make someone else comfortable. Those who love and respect you will understand. Those who don't may have simply gotten used to your lack of boundaries. There is a quiet strength in a firm no. It's not cold. It's not closed off. It opens the door to space, to rest, to the little things that nourish your soul. When you stop feeling guilty for taking care of yourself, you begin to feel your energy return. You wake up with less tension. You go to bed with a lighter heart. And you begin to fill your days with things that feed you, not just things that please others. Having boundaries doesn't mean you don't care. It means you care wisely. You give after you've taken care of yourself. And when you learn to say no from a place of love, not fear, you begin to realize that the life you deserve to enjoy is finally making its way back to you. If you're still watching and these words have resonated with you, leave a comment with the number 2 below to let me know you're here with us. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I invite you to click subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss the meaningful content we've created just for you. Your support helps us continue to share messages of hope, wisdom, and inspiration tailored to your journey. Now, keep walking forward, not to please anyone else, but to live a life that's lighter, freer, and more true to who you really are. Number 3, selective empathy guards your mental health. There's a quiet shift that happens after the age of 70, a kind of awakening that no one speaks of directly, but you begin to feel it. You start to realize that empathy, the beautiful gift you've carried with you your whole life, can also become a burden if it's not placed wisely. You used to take pride in your ability to listen, to feel deeply for the pain of others, but when your heart is always wide open without boundaries, you slowly begin to feel drained. Unlimited empathy means you absorb sadness, chaos, and problems that are not your own, and you carry them inside, quietly, constantly, until one day you notice you're exhausted in both body and spirit. Selective empathy doesn't mean closing your heart. It means choosing where your care goes, how much you give, and when it's time to step back. Not everyone deserves your whole heart. Not every issue needs to be carried on your shoulders. And that is perfectly okay. Let me tell you about Elaine, 82, living in Ohio. For years, she was the confidant of the entire neighborhood. Anyone facing trouble came to her. Divorces, job loss, issues with children. Elaine would listen, offer comfort, give advice, sometimes losing sleep just to make others feel better. But over time, the sleepless nights became chronic. Her blood pressure rose. Her joy for life began to fade. During a doctor's visit, she was asked a question that stopped her cold. "Elaine, you care about everyone, but who's caring for you?" That was the moment she realized something needed to change. She began to care, a little less. Not because she stopped loving people, but because she wanted to save some of that love for herself. Now, she listens, but doesn't carry. She's present, but doesn't try to fix everything. And for the first time in years, she feels light again. Empathy with boundaries is a form of mature kindness. It's how you give without being depleted, how you support others without sacrificing your own peace. Because after 70, you don't have to be the rescuer in everyone's story. Some people don't come to you to connect, they come to unload, and you have every right to say, "I can't carry this for you." When you begin to choose where your heart goes, something powerful happens. You feel calmer, less anxious, and you have more space in your mind to care about what truly matters. Your health, your joy, and the people who love you, not because you always help them, but because you are you. You learn your boundaries, and for the first time, you don't feel the need to apologize for having them. There is a quiet beauty in this serenity. It's not distance, it's clarity, a gentle form of protection that allows you to keep living, loving, and being happy, without being swallowed by emotions that were never yours to hold. And in that stillness, where you finally stop carrying invisible burdens, your spirit begins to breathe again. Number 4. Guarding your time reinforces self-worth. After the age of 70, time is no longer just a way to measure your day. It becomes sacred. Every morning carries a new kind of weight. Every passing hour deserves to be spent meaningfully. And every moment, no matter how small, can either bring you peace or leave you drained. That's why one of the most important things you need to stop giving away too freely is your time. Guarding your time isn't selfish. It's a sign that you finally understand how precious it truly is. Living selectively, living with intention, doesn't mean you're pulling away from people. It means you're no longer willing to share your valuable time with things that don't truly deserve it. Let's be honest. How many times have you said yes to something and regretted it the moment it started? How many hours have you spent in heavy conversations, dull gatherings, or errands that were never really your responsibility? We often confuse generosity with sacrifice, but being wise with your time is the mark of someone who's lived. Think of Richard, a 79-year-old retired engineer in California. For years after retiring, he said yes to everything: veterans meetings, babysitting for neighbors, book clubs he had no real interest in. He was always busy, but by the end of each week, he felt empty. One day, looking at his cluttered calendar, Richard asked himself, "How much of this actually brings me joy?" And the answer was, almost nothing. So he began to scale back. He kept what made him smile. He chose the people who made him feel at ease. He declined gently and felt no need to explain. Today, Richard's schedule is emptier, but his heart is fuller. His time now reflects what he truly values: quiet mornings on the porch, warm phone calls with old friends, and long uninterrupted hours with a good book. You don't owe your presence at every gathering. You don't have to reply to every message right away. You don't need to accept every invitation just to please others. The people who truly care about you will understand that your time is finite, and they'll treasure the moments you choose to share with them. You'll also start to see which relationships are mutual and which ones are one-sided. Who really thinks about you, and who only reaches out when they need something. Once you learn to protect your time, you'll see clearly what drains you, and once you see that clearly, you can't unsee it. There's a special kind of peace in days that you choose, free from obligation. There's healing in crafting your mornings by your rhythm, not someone else's. Every time you say, "I think I'll sit this one out," you're really saying, "I value myself." If you're still watching and these words resonate with you, leave a comment with the number 4 below, so I know you're here with us. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I invite you to do that now, and turn on the notification bell, so you won't miss the next video. Your support is what helps us keep creating meaningful, practical, and uplifting content for the senior community. Now go forward, not on someone else's schedule, but to the rhythm of your own heart. Number 5, saying no protects your personal boundaries. There's a special kind of strength that comes with age, not found in muscles or stamina, but in emotional steadiness. And one of the clearest signs of that strength is the ability to say no calmly, kindly, and without guilt. After 70, personal boundaries are no longer just preferences or habits. They become a shield to protect your peace of mind, your dignity, and your right to enjoy life on your own terms. Living with boundaries doesn't mean living coldly. It means living consciously. Too often, people confuse kindness with submission, and if you've spent your life being the dependable one, the one who always says yes, who always shows up, it's easy for your own needs to quietly slip into the background. You've said yes when your body was quietly begging to rest. You've accepted unfairness just to keep the peace. But the kind of peace that comes from sacrificing your own boundaries isn't really peace. It's a quiet surrender. Let me tell you about June, 80 years old, living in Wisconsin. Her whole life, she was the steady one in her family, never saying no, always stepping up. But eventually, she noticed something painful. Her kindness had become expected. If she missed a gathering, people acted disappointed. If she voiced discomfort, they brushed it off, calling her too sensitive. One day, June made a small but powerful decision. She stopped answering calls that were only about asking for favors. She began to say no, even knowing someone might not like it. And strangely, she didn't feel guilty. She felt relief, a sense of freedom she hadn't realized she'd lost. Boundaries aren't walls to shut people out. They're doors with locks, letting you choose who comes in and how far they're allowed to go. Saying no doesn't make you cold. It shows that you are protecting what you've spent a lifetime building: your energy, your time, your values, and your inner peace. And the more clearly you say no, the more you begin to see who truly respects you and who simply relied on your lack of boundaries. The people who were only around because it was easy will start to fade. And that is a gift. You'll also realize this. Setting boundaries is an act of self-respect. You weren't put on this earth to carry everyone's expectations. You're not obligated to be everywhere for everyone. You're here to fully live the precious years you have left, with clarity, intention, and deep compassion for yourself. There's a quiet bravery in this kind of coldness. It doesn't push people away. It simply brings you back to yourself, after a lifetime spent tending to everyone else. At this stage in life, protecting your boundaries is no longer a luxury. It's a necessity to survive, to find peace, and to reclaim the freedom that may have been quietly traded away over the years. Every time you honor your own boundaries, you reclaim a piece of strength that was worn down and take another steady step toward living fully for you. Number 6. Detaching from outcomes brings true peace. There's a quiet kind of strength that only emerges when you stop trying to control everything. After 70, one of the most liberating things you can do for yourself is let go of the need to manage others, outcomes, or how people respond to your choices. Being emotionally detached doesn't mean being indifferent. It's emotional refinement. It's the understanding that your inner peace no longer depends on whether things go your way. And in that letting go, you begin to truly master your emotional life. When we're younger, we pour so much energy into things outside our control. We try to save people who don't want saving, try to please people who'll never be satisfied. We replay conversations, regret what we said or didn't say, worry about things that might happen. But over time, a truth becomes clear. No amount of worrying ever made things better, and no amount of effort can replace genuine peace. Letting go doesn't mean giving up. It means stepping back, to breathe, to live. Let me tell you about Margaret, 84 years old, a mother and grandmother who spent much of her life in quiet worry. She lost sleep over her son's choices, his finances, marriage, parenting style. She carried concern for every little thing, until one day, while talking to her doctor, he gently said, "Margaret, loving someone doesn't mean carrying everything for them." That sentence was a turning point. She began practicing something simple yet powerful, offering advice only when asked, helping only when invited, and trusting that the people she loved would find their own way. Since then, she's slept better. She smiles more. Not because everything is perfect, but because she no longer feels responsible for fixing what isn't hers to fix. When you release attachment to outcomes, you reclaim your energy, your time, and your joy. You no longer chase approval. You stop trying to rescue every situation. You learn to let a conversation end without needing a resolution. You let people misunderstand you without correcting them. You stop apologizing for making choices that feel right for you. And that doesn't make you cold, it makes you free. It gives you emotional independence, where your peace is no longer at the mercy of someone else's actions. Others may be rude, dismissive, or silent, and you remain steady, grounded, untouched by the storm. Because by this stage in life, you've learned that peace isn't found in control. It's found in letting go. Not letting go of your values, but letting go of the need to control the outcome. You still live with love, honesty, and kindness, but you release the need for things to turn out a certain way. And in that release, healing begins. Though difficult at first, it opens a different way of living, gentler, more intentional, more meaningful. If you're still watching this video and found these words valuable, leave a comment with the number 6 below, so I know you're here with us. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I invite you to click subscribe and turn on notifications, so you won't miss the next video we create with care and intention, made just for you, to help you live more freely and fully each day. Before we wrap up, take a moment to reflect. Out of the 6 reasons we explored today, which one speaks to you most? Is it the part where you're giving too much? The quiet power of staying silent? Or the freedom that comes with releasing what you cannot control? Whatever it is, hold on to it. Because these aren't just words, they're tools. Tools you can start using today to build a calmer, more intentional life. There's a special kind of beauty that emerges when you stop clinging and start choosing. Choosing what matters, choosing when to show up, choosing how to spend your precious time, and who truly deserves to share it with you. At first, living this way might feel unfamiliar, but with every boundary you set, every pause before reacting, every moment you prioritize yourself, you'll see it becomes not only easier, but more worthwhile. Because this stage of life isn't an ending, it's a refinement. You no longer have anything to prove. You've lived, you've learned, you've loved. And now, you get to choose what remains. Thank you for being here. We would truly love to read your thoughts below. What is one thing you learned today? And how do you plan to apply it in your life? Every comment you leave gives us strength to keep sharing these messages with more people who may need them. If you found this video helpful, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Your presence and support mean the world to us. Thank you, and we'll see you in the next video.